Welcome to the scorching arena of valor and the crucible of courage. This is the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Here, in the inferno of life's greatest challenges, heroes are shaped and legends are born. Every episode is a torchlight of wisdom, casting a glow on the paths walked by those who've braved the flames and emerged stronger. In this furnace of fortitude, we'll explore tales of resilience, bravery, and the unyielding human spirit. Each guest brings their own spark of insight, lighting up the darkness and guiding us through the smoke of adversity. With Fireman Rob at the helm, prepared to delve into conversations that smolder with significance and stories that kindle the soul. It's not just a podcast, it's a beacon for all who seek to rise from the ashes and glow with purpose. So stoke the fires of your curiosity and ready your heart for tales of triumph and transformation. The flames are roaring. The stage is ablaze. Welcome to the Forged in the Fires podcast. Let the journey begin.
All right, welcome back to Forged in the Fires podcast. I'm your host, Fireman Rob. Today's guest, well, if you're looking for purpose, you're looking for that meaning of life, that drive, this is the guest that you want to listen to. This is the individual that he has a blueprint. Let's just get to it. Ian Chamandy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Rob.
This is great. I love this because I love purpose. I think it's such a powerful thing that a lot of people don't understand the meaning behind. And you've taken your life experiences, you've taken what you've learned in business and created something amazing. Talk to me more about the blueprint, or in essence, the premise behind the mindset that created this amazing purpose you.
Oh, sure. So I will tell you that it starts from just this core belief that whether you're an organization like a business or a charity, or you're an individual, your single most important asset is knowing that one thing at your core that makes you uniquely remarkable, right? So if you're a big company like IBM, what's the one thing? There is one thing at IBM's core that makes it uniquely remarkable. And then I turn to you, Fireman Rob, and I say, there is something that makes you uniquely remarkable at your essence. What is that? And, I ran into a quote 5 or 6 years ago from Pablo Picasso, who sort of changed how I viewed about doing what I was doing. And he said, the meaning of life is to find your gift. And your purpose in life is to share it with the world. So I just rephrased that. I just simplified it a little bit. It's great, isn't it?
I love that.
So I just simplified it a little bit, and I said, your purpose is to find your gift and share it with the world. Well, I just told you that I created this process that for businesses or individuals identifies what makes you uniquely remarkable at your core. That's your gift.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to revise that sentence once more and say, your purpose is to discover what makes you uniquely remarkable and share that with the world. It's really just really knowing who you are. And then, because you do, being the best possible you that you can.
I love that, because in this kind of a world that we're in right now, it almost seems like we're trying to take out that uniquely, that remarkable aspect of individuals. We're trying to get other people to like us for what we're uniquely remarkable for. But yet at the same point, how courageous do you have to be to instill that remarkability, in yourself, to really live that? Have you seen that in your own self? Because you put this out there.
Well, okay, so when you know what makes you uniquely remarkable, there's a whole host of benefits, right? When you know your purpose. But the two big things, one's internal and one's external. The internal is, I am convinced that well over half of the 8 billion people marching around this planet think that there is nothing special about them. And because they
Very
think there's
true.
nothing special about them, they think that they don't deserve anything special and they can't do anything special.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. Until you find another human being on this planet who is precisely the same as you, then all 8 billion of us are different. And that means there is something that makes every single one of us uniquely remarkable. So imagine if those 4+ billion people all knew that there was actually something that made them uniquely remarkable. And therefore they know they have a superpower that nobody can ever take away from them. My 7 words or less, by the way, it's usually 2 or 3 or 4. My 7 words or less, my purpose statement, is transforming confusion into clarity. That's my special gift, my superpower, whatever. And you can never take that away from me. Wow. So no matter how many stresses or challenges, or no matter how the world is trying to beat me down, I still have that one asset that nobody can take away from me. And that affects my confidence, right? I become a more confident person, knowing that there is something that makes me uniquely remarkable. And because I can express it in such a clear, concise, and compelling way, there's people out there who will value that and who will value me. So that's one thing, is the confidence.
Yeah.
The other thing is the secret of purpose is that it's a decision-making tool. It's a little mechanic. You know, it's kind of dry, but it helps you make decisions, because when you're faced with a decision between two things, let's say, you know, you're out contemplating 2 career choices.
Right.
How do you decide? And the thing is, if you know your purpose, you can hold your purpose up to them and say, which one of these leverages my purpose most? And then you make an informed decision about which one of those jobs you want to take. I mean, you could still take the other job because it pays 100% more.
Right.
But all things being equal, you want something that aligns with your purpose, with that one thing that makes you uniquely remarkable.
It's so powerful, because, you know, you have the money, obviously, that can be that defining factor. But at the end of the day, if your purpose is driving your enjoyment, your fulfillment, your meaning, exactly what you're saying, if you can, it was funny because I actually read a study from, I think it was a Harvard Business Review, that was talking about leaders. They surveyed leaders, and it was like only 20% of all leaders in that study could distill down to, and you said it in a sentence in 7 words, could distill down what their purpose was.
Okay,
it was crazy.
No way can 20% of leaders distill it down to 7 words or less. Maybe 3 paragraphs or 3 pages.
Very true.
That's the problem with it, right?
Yeah.
Like the problem in the world of purpose is that you can make purpose be anything that you want. The definitions there's so many definitions, and they're all so vague or academic that they're incomprehensible. And if they're incomprehensible, then what are you trying to figure out, right? Like, if you don't know what purpose is, how do you figure out what your purpose is? And that's why, like, I hope something that's coming across about what I'm saying and about the blueprint system is that everything is just like really simple and really self-evident. Like, I think it's pretty self-evident. Purpose is not something out there. Supporting climate change is not your purpose. Supporting climate change or whatever is something you do because it fulfills your purpose. So what's your purpose? Your purpose is to be the best possible you that you can be. Share that and share that gift with the world.
That is that I love what you just said, because I think a lot of people have that misconception. My purpose is, out there. It's doing this specific thing. And that is completely opposite of what you're saying. And completely, I agree with you completely, because people think they lose their purpose then if that all of a sudden is done or accomplished. Or
Right. Okay, so to that point, you have parents, and I'm going to say especially mothers, because mothers, by and large, have a much greater emotional commitment to everything to do with
Right.
the family.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So let's say you're a mother of 3 kids, and now they're all shuffling off to university, or and now you got an empty nest. Who are you now? Even if you have a fabulous career as a mother, you're doing both things side by side, still a large part of how you define yourself is as a mother. And a lot of people get anxiety when that goes away. And what I want to introduce here is the idea of a trigger event. A trigger event is any dramatic life event that does 2 things. In the first instance, it causes uncertainty about the future. I'm not a mother anymore. What am I? Right? Or I'm retiring. I'm not in a career anymore. What the heck am I? Or I'm a student coming out of university, entering adulthood for the first time. What am I? Right? So a trigger event creates uncertainty about the future, and that uncertainty causes anxiety, or in the extreme, it causes fear. So, for instance, you get fired. That causes fear, right?
Yeah.
Even if you decide, I've run out my string here, I'm going to go out and I'm going to look for another job. That still creates uncertainty about the future. So although you're making the decision yourself, it still creates anxiety about the future. Okay, I've decided I want to go to look for a job, but are my skills still relevant? Is anyone going to want me? If I take a job, am I going to fit in there the way I fit in here? Blah, 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 right? So there is all this anxiety. All right, so trigger event. Trigger event creates uncertainty about the future, causes anxiety or even fear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's uncertainty about the future, that means decisions need to be made. They're unanswered questions that you have about the future. When you answer those questions, if you can do it with your purpose as your wingman or your wingwoman, then you've got an asset there that can help you make decisions better. Here's one more key point. If you were to look through a microscope at purpose to see its components, it has 3 components: your beliefs, your wants, and your and your talents. And what I do in the course is I lead you through a process to discover your beliefs, your wants, and your talents, which is going to be illuminating. Like, that's going to be an insight that you've never had in your life before. Just understand these things that drive you. But also, they are the raw material, the raw data that we then feed into AI. And the special AI that we've got, it's called Wordsmith, our own AI. And Wordsmith is a specialist in purpose. And AI can see things that we can't see. So when you've got that list of all these beliefs, wants, and talents, you ask AI, where's the common thread here? What do you see? What do you see binding all of this together? And express that in 7 words or less, and it'll give you a bunch of drafts, right? That's what we do in the course.
Yeah.
And then you can, one of those drafts, you may look at it and say, woo, that's me. Or you may say, I'll take the front of that one and the back of that one. Oh, that's me. Or you may say, show me 10 more. Show me 10 more. But that's, I've just given you a sort of a very rough overview of how I walk step by step through the Blueprint for Purpose course to discover your own purpose in 7 words or less, to create the story around that, both so that you understand it more, but also so that you can communicate it in a clear, concise, telling way. You become more charismatic.
Right.
And then how to live a life of meaning and purpose as a result of that.
It's powerful to be able to have the insight. I think when you look at it from a perspective of giving that individual the power to be themselves. I love that when you said in the beginning, you have to be yourself. Looking in the first responder community, and you talked about I love the trigger events, because I think it's such a powerful thing for people to understand that in these trigger events, and first responders, military, all them, they have multiple trigger events in their careers, not only in their careers, but when they leave the service. I can see the power of that purpose defined for individuals. Is there a moment like in a trigger event where you can sit and redefine that purpose, look at what you had and kind of go, okay, is this going to change, or is the trajectory changing? Is that something that makes sense in that respect?
You may be able to do that, and of course you may be able to use all the things that you're thinking and feeling while you're immersed in that trigger event as raw material. But I actually take you on a different route. So what I do is I get you to identify 2 accomplishments that you're proud of. That's all you have to be. You participated in this and you're proud of it. And you could have led it. You could have been a cast of thousands.
Yeah.
You could be doing it on your own. Doesn't matter. Even if you're a cast of thousands. If you identify this as something that you're really proud of, then you really loved working on it. And you were probably in that flow state, right? Where you're sort of tingling and you can't wait to get back to work at this and, push my other stuff aside because I want to do this. And, so what's happening is that your purpose is raging there. Like you're really living your purpose. You're really aligned with your beliefs, wants, and values, the components of purpose. So what we do is I walk you through a 7-step process, and there's a video for each step. All the videos are between 2 and 10 minutes. They're not onerous. But I walk you through a 7-step process where we start out with, what are the 2 accomplishments at the top? One from your career, hopefully, and one from your personal life.
Right. And
we just break those down, deconstruct them until we end up with your beliefs, wants, and talents at the end. And so when you say, because your beliefs, wants, and talents are then, the elements of your purpose, when you're facing a decision, do I take that job or do I take that job? If you take the job that's aligned with your purpose, you're saying, I'm taking the job that's aligned with my beliefs, wants, and talents.
Yes.
Right? So that's why it's a better decision. It's aligned with your beliefs, wants, and talents. Your purpose is just sort of sitting out front as the hero saying,
it was all me. It was all me.
Or less representative of my constituency of beliefs, wants, and talents. But that's how you make decisions. Now, I've had a number of, I've never talked with a first responders group before, but I have talked with many veterans groups. And through those conversations, I've come to understand to a small degree what their challenges are, especially when they're leaving the service, because it's a special job. And I'm guessing that a fireman or, that they're all the same. They're special jobs. And you got to be like, you don't take this job because it's 9 to 5. Or
you're not getting lucrative pay.
Right. No. This was built into you to do this. And so what I learned about veterans is that when they're in the military is their purpose.
Right.
The military is everything. And it provides them with everything. And, and it's a whole bubble, a whole world that they live in. And then when they come out of that, they've lost their purpose. That's their trigger event, is basically career transition from military to civilian. But they lose their sense of identity. They lose their purpose. And they, more than most other people who experience a trigger event, become lost.
Right.
And I hear things like, I'm worried that I'm going to get fired. I hear things like, I'm working in the marketing department, but I used to have bullets whizzing by my head. It's so bloody boring doing marketing. And it's like, well, you took a job that doesn't align with your beliefs, wants, and talents. That's why you're bored with the job. Right. And if you feel like you've lost your sense of purpose because you're no longer in the military, well, that never was your purpose. So
Right.
if you discover your purpose, then no matter what happens for the rest of your life, that won't change. Changing a career won't rob you of your purpose. No, this is your real purpose. You own this. And
Right.
even if you wanted to get rid of it, no, it's stuck.
You can't
in
get
your
rid
head. You know, it's there. It's your shadow for the rest of your life. And that is a truly remarkable.
That is a remarkable thing. Yeah, because the biggest thing I see in the veteran community as well as in the first responder community, when you look at beliefs, wants, and talents, right? When you're in the environment of the military or in the first responder, those are all given to you. Those are all in essence bestowed upon you of being part of something bigger than yourself, helping others.
Yeah.
And the identity, and I love that you said that, the identity of the individuals is lost. It's so, and you can almost probably see it in the pro athletes as well.
Exactly. It's exactly, you know what?
Yeah.
When they're in the dress, when they're on the team,
yep,
right, everything's done for them.
Yeah.
Someone, knocks on their hotel door at 10 o'clock and tells them to get up. Someone brings their bags down. Someone does this. Someone does that. They walk onto the bus. They play. They walk onto the bus, go back to the hotel.
Right.
And when that's gone, the two things that they miss is the routine, right? Yep. And also the camaraderie. They miss the dressing room almost more than they miss the ice.
By far.
Right? And I'm thinking that you're probably the same. You miss your brothers and sisters
completely.
When you leave. And if you're a soldier, same thing. These people, the bullets weren't just whizzing around your head; they're whizzing around the man or the woman beside you as well. And your surviving all of that is dependent on your wits and their wits. So that creates a bond. That when you're taken away from that, oh my God, I've had my part of my life ripped out.
Right.
Oh, no.
But your raw materials are still there. That's what I love about what you're saying.
That's right. That's right. And by the way, your decision to go into the military or your decision to become a first responder is a reflection of your purpose. It's not your purpose. Your purpose.
It seems like it's full circle there, Ian.
You in there. So I had to read this book in university, and it was like 800 pages, and it was so dense. And I knew that I wouldn't read the book unless I took this course. So I took it. So the book's called Gödel, Escher, and Bach. Gödel is a mathematician who came up with a huge equation that didn't just change math, but it changed everyday life as well. Escher is the guy who does the optical illusion art, and who we all had. We had his art hanging up in our dorms in university. And then and Bach is has had some top 10 hits in history, right?
Yeah.
And so he calls them three shadows cast from the same stone, and the book attempts to describe the stone. And I love that metaphor, and I stole it from him, and I've been using it my whole life. But that's what your purpose is. Your purpose is the stone. And everything that you do and say, whether it's an individual or a company, your purpose is your stone, and everything you do and say is a shadow cast from that stone. You're a company, whatever products you create, whatever services you provide, however you talk about yourself and your marketing and your branding and stuff like that, they're all, or they should be all, shadows cast from your purpose stone. But you can only do that if you know what your purpose stone is.
Right. How powerful was it when you were going through creating this and finding your raw materials and building those raw materials into your purpose? I'm sure it was a process, but it was like, how powerful was that to you to be able to do that?
Well, your suggestion suggests that, your question suggests that it was a disciplined process that I went through.
I can't imagine it was not.
No, it wasn't. Because what happened was, 20 years ago, my business partner, he sadly died during COVID, but we started this company 20 years ago. And we didn't start it as a purpose company. We started it as a corporate strategy company.
No kidding.
We were coming into it having our positioning was we had one foot in management consulting, so like a Bain or a McKinsey or a Deloitte,
Yep.
and one foot in creative agency, right? Like JWT or Ogilvy or something like that. And so we were bringing the creativity of agency and the business discipline of management consulting. And what happened was over time, we kept accumulating little devices and beliefs and exercises that we ended up starting to use over and over again. And the more time went on, the repetitive devices started to crowd out the other stuff. And we ended up with a process.
Huh.
And now, so we started out in the business of tell us what your problems are and we'll come up with, great solutions for them, to we've got a meat grinder and it produces beautiful meat. And if you want beautiful meat, buy the meat grinder.
Yeah.
But, either buy the process of the meat grinder. But don't ask us to change the handle for you. Don't ask us to change the feet for you, because you want what the meat grinder produces. Don't change the meat grinder because it's not going to produce the same thing. So you come to us now as a company, and we take you through our step-by-step process to develop your purpose. And then, so step one for companies, define what makes you uniquely remarkable, your purpose in 7 words or less. The second thing we do is we go through a rigorous process of articulating the story around that purpose. And that articulation, what we call the purpose story, becomes the guide for all of the communications of the company. So you hand that over to your agency and they do your branding and your marketing and your sales and all that jazz. And then the other thing that we do in the blueprint is we design how the company is going to operate, or how it's going to shift its operations to become more aligned with its blueprint. With its purpose in 7 words or less. So what that means is, in the world of of the existence of a company, there's everything it does and there's everything it says. And those two things should flow out of that one thing that makes you uniquely remarkable. Because if they do, then your communications will always be uniquely remarkable. And I'll point out Nike and Apple as examples of that.
Right.
And if if it guides your operations, if what makes you uniquely remarkable flows through your operations 24/7, then you are being the best possible version of yourself as a company. Be. It's
Ian, you're speaking,
right?
It's the information is so funny, because I think it's so positive and so transformative, but also so simplistic in nature to be able to figure out that purpose. I mean, I love that concept, because that's been my whole, I always say your strength is in your passion or your purpose.
Right.
And it's so true in this respect. I love it. I love everything that you're doing, man. Make sure you go to purposeu.ai. You can find out more about the story behind it. You can also enroll today. I love that concept, but I have 3 questions for you to end this interview, because that's what I do.
Don't forget the discount code for your viewers. That's going to be in the show notes as well.
Definitely in the show notes, so people can. Well, if they're not excited now, I don't know what's going to get them excited. Well, I love it. All right, here's the first question for you, Ian. Ready?
Right.
All right. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self and give yourself one piece of advice, what's that going to be?
Go into music. I've been thinking a lot. So I'm 65 years old, right?
Yeah.
By the way, I believe that anybody who says, if I had the opportunity to relive the past, I'd do it exactly the same way. That means you don't learn from life. No, so where I have come to, my passion is purpose. But, my side gig passion is music. It's writing music, it's playing music, it's performing music. And if I had it to do all over again, I would have gone into a career of music, preferably writing and performing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, second adventure here. All right. Second question was, everybody has challenges and struggles in their life. If you could give them 2 tips or 2 things to incorporate it into their daily routine that could help them to continue to push forward, to continue to move forward in their life, to be their best self, what would those 2 things be?
2 things. Okay. So, well, in a self-serving sense, I would say one of them would be know what your purpose is, because it'll help you make better decisions.
By far.
And the other thing that I would say is also around decision making. And, a lot of times the way we make decisions is we consider all of the evidence to the best of our ability. And then we make a decision with this kind of niggling dread of, am I making the right decision? Right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it means that you haven't, my trick in dealing with complex issues is to break them down into simpler and simpler elements. If you try and consider the whole enchilada, it's just too big and too complicated.
Right.
So if you break it down into simpler elements, then at some point, the answer will become self-evident. And when it becomes self-evident, you don't have buyer's remorse or any fear of buyer's remorse anymore. Because it's like, oh, well, that's the obvious decision. And now you have full confidence in the decision. So push farther to break it down. And that's, when I do this process with corporations, I have to have a thick skin because I drive them crazy. Because the nature of business meetings around difficult issues is they'll say, okay, well, we tried our best in this meeting, so let's table it for now and we'll come back to it. Or they'll say, well, this is good enough. And then they have a decision that doesn't produce for them or they regret. Right. And I constantly have clients saying, it was annoying at times, you saying, no, we're staying right here until we figure this out.
Right.
But we figured it out. And that was a big hump to get over. We've been struggling that for 6 or 9 months. So you were annoying, but I'm grateful that, that you were annoying.
I'm grateful for your annoyance.
Grateful for your annoyance. Yeah.
It's so true, because a lot of people do not want to go to those uncomfortable conversations or do that 10,000 foot view and say that's good enough. But like you were saying before, purpose is important.
You know what? And this was a really important lesson for me when I read that book that I told you about, Gödel, Escher, and Bach, and then I had to write a paper on it. And that gave me a lot of confidence, because there were some big weighty issues in there, and I understood them. Now, I didn't understand them on a deep level, but I understood them on a logic level. And what I came away from that course thinking, this is the most valuable course, philosophy course, most valuable course in my university. What I came away thinking is that I can understand absolutely anything on the logic level. And if I'm not understanding it, it's because you're not explaining it to me effectively. So then it becomes my responsibility to ask you the kind of questions that give me clarity. Right? So just keep digging. If you're saying, because a lot of people, if you're explaining something to me, Rob, and I'm just not getting it, I feel stupid. And I don't want to appear to not understand you. Well, I don't have that fear.
Yeah. That's a huge fear not to have, too.
Yeah. So I don't mind looking stupid, because I know I'm not stupid. So I'll ask you the questions to get me to clarity, recognizing that the problem is you, because you're not explaining it to me.
Well, at the end of the day, like you, well, the problem is me a lot there, Ian. I know that. But it all goes back to what you said. Be the best you.
Yeah.
And to be the best you have to have the understanding of it. That's so powerful. I love that. All right. This last question's fun, Ian.
Okay.
All right. Here, if you could have coffee at a firehouse table, so in other words, no questions are off the table, and they're going to be answered, with 3 people, they can be deceased or alive, who are those going to be?
Oh, they're all going to be musical.
There you go.
So I would say one would be John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin, right? Which is not an obvious pick because he's the least known guy, but he is the most musically adept, right? Robert Plant sang, Jimmy Page played guitar, John Bonham played drums, John Paul Jones played every other instrument in the universe for Led Zeppelin.
Wow.
Yeah, I would also probably pick George Martin, who was, the classical producer who ended up, to his chagrin in the beginning, getting hooked up with the Beatles, but then he became the fifth Beatle. He was the guy who shaped their creativity into who they were. And then I think the third guy would probably be Duane Allman.
Okay.
Because there is a whole genre of rock, classic rock, that I love. And he invented it. It all came out of him. So the Allman Brothers Band, but he was the spiritual leader, right? Yeah. But when you think of Leonard Skinner and, all those Southern rock bands, and it all came out of his both guitar and musical style. So I would love to have him around the table just to show me how he plays. I play guitar, and I would love to learn the Duane Allman.
That'd be a great table. You'd have some great music with coffee, and I mean, come on, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Make sure you go to purposeu.ai. Ian, it has been such an honor and a pleasure to have you on today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Rob. Thank you very much.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining me today. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. And please share this episode with a friend or family member. To find out more about Fireman Rob, or if you have a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.